Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of First Look, Final Word, podcast where we take you along to see a movie with us. I'm Pete.
And I'm Trevor. What's going on, you corn growers?
All right, okay, yeah.
We're seeing Interstellar today.
Yes, it's an exciting one this week, guys.
If you are new to the podcast, Pete and I, we're driving to the movie. We're going to watch it, then we're going to drive back and tell you about our immediate reactions to it. We like to say it's like replicating the experience of seeing movies with friends and then kind of just processing the movie you just saw is what it's all about, right?
Exactly, yeah. If you guys are planning on driving to see Interstellar this week, then give us a listen on the way, and then you can listen to us on the way back and see if you agree with our opinions on it.
All right, so Interstellar, this is a big one.
It is a big one.
So we are going to go see this in 70 millimeter IMAX.
Yes.
We're one of just like, a handful or two of theaters that are actually showing this for the 10-year anniversary of Interstellar. So we're very lucky we live in somewhat close proximity to a theater that does this.
Yeah, somewhat close. Bit of a drive.
Yeah.
A bit of a longer drive than we normally would do, but I think it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. Well, try not to dox ourselves, but we're going to the Cineplex in Vaughan, which in the GTA is one of the very few places that has like a proper 70 millimeter projector.
Yeah, that's Toronto, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
We're in Canada.
We're in Canada.
People don't know what the GTA is.
Yeah, sorry. So I thought we'd start. Did you want to talk about your history with?
Well, we want to throw to our super fan.
Good idea. So we are actually meeting our friend Anthony at the theater. We met him like from his listening to this show, and
yeah,
he's quite the techie guy and like very into IMAX. And we asked if he wanted to kind of record a bit of a segment. Give a little bit of background for this movie, and he did. It's a great job.
Yeah, so let's hear from a friend of the pod, Anthony. Here we go.
When The Dark Knight was released in 2008, it made waves by being the first major Hollywood film to be partially shot with IMAX film cameras. About 28 minutes of that footage made it into the final movie, and it was shown in the best format possible, IMAX 70mm film. Across North America, 94 theaters showed it in IMAX film, the widest release in the format's history. When Interstellar was first released in 2014, it made an even bigger impact by having 66 minutes in the larger IMAX aspect ratio. However, in the 6 years that passed, film use was in decline. This time, the number of theaters showing the IMAX version in the US and Canada fell to 41 theaters, less than half of The Dark Knight. Growing up, I'd watched many IMAX documentaries. One of my personal favorites has always been The Dream is Alive, which was the first to take IMAX film cameras to orbit aboard the space shuttle. It's the same film that Christopher Nolan studied to understand how to frame interior shots aboard spacecraft. Interstellar on film proved to be massively popular at the time of its release, and it was sold out for weeks. I only got to watch it in 2K digital projection at the time. I still have a copy of my e-tickets to prove it. Now, for its 10th anniversary, it's back, playing in many theaters across the US and Canada, but only 10 of them are showing it in IMAX film. Information about the film prints themselves is closely guarded, and not much is publicly known. Unofficial sources say that no new copies have been made for these showings, so when we see it, it will be one of the original prints from 2014, finished photochemically with portions created through direct contact printing from the original camera negative. I'm excited. Now, 10 years later, I get to see it the way it was meant to be seen.
Okay, well, very well said, Anthony. He's giving us a run for our money. I hope he doesn't start a podcast. He's going to put us out of business.
We're going to have to up our game.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was great. And yeah, it kind of got me thinking about my own experience with this movie and with Nolan in general. Did you want to maybe go in that direction?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he touched on some very interesting points there, and I think sort of like to your point, it got me thinking about when I first saw specifically The Dark Knight, I think, in theaters, and then seeing those IMAX sections in that movie was, I remember it just taking my breath away. But yeah, what's your experience with it?
Well, like even going back to The Dark Knight, I don't think I was kind of aware at the time that like IMAX was such a big part of that release, and I did.
You weren't? Because I remember it being huge about that.
Well, I did see it like 3 times in theaters too, and I don't think any of them were in IMAX.
Well, that was your problem.
Because I think still back then, like I thought of IMAX as, you know, that's where you went to go see educational films or whatever.
It wasn't as prevalent for sure.
Um,
I think that's why I remember it though, because I think I remember the big deal about he actually used the cameras and he had them there, and it's going to be insane.
I remember that for, you know, by the time that Interstellar was coming out.
Yeah.
I remember like they were really leaning into the behind the scenes footage and stuff before, like showing them carrying those huge ass cameras around.
Right, exactly.
I don't really remember at the time for Dark Knight.
Oh, I definitely do, because I remember, and I wasn't even like a big geek into it, but I just remember being.
You weren't a big geek into it.
I wasn't. I wasn't. Well, maybe more than most, but not on the level of some. I wasn't on the IMAX subreddit back then.
Yeah,
if it existed. But no, I remember being, because I was looking at, I was the guy that was like trying to look out for when the aspect ratio changed.
Yeah.
And I remember when it first happened, I think it was anyway, when it was like the skyline shot, and I was just like, whoa, like that's huge. And I remember,
so this is for Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember thinking like, this is it. This is the future. Everyone should be doing this. This is amazing. And I didn't see it on like film or anything, but even still, just in my regular IMAX back home in Manchester, it was like, I remember being like taken aback by like how good it looked.
Oh, like honestly, I feel a little embarrassed that the first time I saw Dark Knight, it was in like very cheap discount theater.
Well, I'm also a big superhero nerd.
I used to go to that theater a lot because, you know, it was easy to just show up to and get a ticket and get a good seat. Whereas I detest like having to get to the theater like an hour before just to get a good seat. Yeah. So the fact that North America, we've all switched to just buying tickets ahead of time. Yeah. England, you guys were switched onto that pretty early, right?
I don't remember. It depends on where you go. Some of them did, some of them didn't.
The one movie I saw when I was in England was my first time sitting in reserved seating. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. What are you talking about? Where do I want to sit? I'm going to figure that out when I get in there.
It was weird because it went away from that. Like when I was a kid, it was all that. And then it went away from that.
Oh, really?
And then it went back to it. I think some theatre chains were like, you know what, people would actually prefer this. Let's give people a science scene so they don't have to just show up and hope for the best.
Well, and the second time I saw Dark Knight, I'd locked myself out of my dorm room, like for the second time that day. It was my first time. It was my first time in my dorm room in my second year of university. And I had already gone and I had to ask the guy for a key to my room.
I'm not doing it again.
And then and like my door was finicking. The second time it happened, I'm like, I'm going to go and see a movie by myself and then wait until his shift ends and then go ask the next guy. And so the second time I saw The Dark Knight, I was worrying the whole time that he would still be there by the time I got back.
It's so distracting.
So I don't think the theater I saw it in was IMAX. But so anyways, long way to say it wasn't top of mind.
So am I hearing correctly that you've never seen The Dark Knight in IMAX?
I've never seen a Dark Knight in IMAX. No.
Is that due like an anniversary show?
What is that? So that was 2008. So we got right. That was 2008.
I think so.
We got 4 years to go with that.
Well, there you go. We'll come back in 4 years.
Yeah, there you go.
Hopefully they'll do a re-release.
Well, and like I'd never seen something in 70 millimeter IMAX until earlier this year.
Oh yeah,
when I saw Dune 2 at this very theater.
Oh right, I guess I have seen it then. Also, I was there with you.
So I've gone to the same theater twice to see it. So the first time we went, it was just regular.
Oh, that wasn't because I didn't. I was going to say I didn't think I'd seen it on 70 millimeter.
It was just regular IMAX, right? Because we saw for Dune 2. Great episode, everybody. Go back and check it out.
Check out Dune 2 episode.
We saw like the early fan sneak peek, and we were really irritated that it was not in 70 millimeter when this is like one of the few theaters in the Toronto area that have that capability. So we just saw like the regular one, and then I met my friend Scott later because the 70 millimeter version had shown up there, but they didn't film Dune 2 in 70 millimeter. It was a conversion. Right? So so I've only seen it once, and it was a conversion.
So since you'd seen it both versions, was there a big difference that you noticed? Or
well, to be honest, I thought that the 70 millimeter version of Dune 2 was a little darker.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that was because it was a conversion
Right.
or something on the day of, but
Yeah, you never know,
I
right?
thought it
This could just be a
looked better
projection
before
issue.
that. I don't know if anyone else has kind of seen the 70 millimeter version of Dune 2 and prefers the regular IMAX version to it. I like that. That's kind of where I was at, but I like that I had the chance to see it both.
Yeah, I think with stuff like that, it really just does depend on the showing as well, like how well it's been set up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like you never see the same version twice.
Well, and like, there's really not that many movies that get made in 70 millimeter IMAX. Like,
Right?
I
Apart from Nolan.
was looking it up today, and since Interstellar came out 10 years ago, how many movies do you think have had a release in partial 70 millimeter that were filmed in 70
filmed.
millimeter, not just converted?
God, since when? Sorry,
Since
Interstellar.
since Interstellar 10 years ago.
Let's say like 2,
Well, there's been 10.
10. Okay, I was well into. I was selling it.
There's been 10, but you got to think, like, after that it was Dunkirk and
I was gonna say,
Tenet and then Oppenheimer. So 3 of them are Nolan himself
That's
doing
true.
it.
I was like, how many has Nolan done?
And then let's see if I can
So
get
who else is doing it then?
see if I can get the rest of the list. So there's Force Awakens.
Oh, okay.
Did it?
Really?
I honestly
Why?
maybe just a few minutes. Like I honestly had no idea. And then Last Jedi did it as well. Rise of
Okay.
Skywalker didn't do it.
Right.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Amazing.
Nope.
Really?
Did it? Yeah.
Wow.
Because I guess it's like Hoyt van Hoytema likes
I guess so,
filming in
yeah.
IMAX. And I know I'm forgetting something big in there.
I don't know.
Well, I'll have to look up the list later. But yeah, and then like you have the 3 Nolan movies in there. I'm sure I'm forgetting something in there.
Well, that's the thing. I think there's like 1 or 2 reasons why people do it. I think either for the gimmick of it, which I don't think happens a lot, just because it's difficult to do, so it's not worth doing. Or the people who are just like bang into it, just like
this is the best format,
massive nerds. But it's got to be a hard sell though. Like unless you're a Nolan or a Star Wars, like how are you gonna sell?
Yeah,
like,
you have to have
the amount of effort that it's going to be.
Yes, it's so much more expensive to do, right?
Yeah.
And so much more
just logistically difficult as well, right? To get those fucking massive cameras, but learn what you need. It's like insane.
Yeah, you're right. Like I don't think you could just be like any director and go in and say I want to film things in 70 millimeter IMAX.
No, I don't think so. Go make a few $1 billion movies first.
Yeah, exactly. But like no, this is like my expectations going into this is it's going to be like a once in a lifetime experience because this is like the movie to see in this format.
It is perfect, right? It's the perfect movie for this.
And so I'll ask you this question. So since Interstellar came out,
yes,
do you think you've seen a better looking movie?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Because for my money, this is like one of the best looking movies of all time.
Yeah, I mean Dune. Yeah, is gorgeous, but no, I don't think I'd put it above it. To be honest, that's a really good question.
Yeah, Dune 2 is a pretty good answer. Like it's, but for my money, and like because you're going to different planets and stuff like that, you're getting so many different.
It's the perfect opportunity for showcasing that stuff.
Well, maybe I'll even like back up a level. Like, what was your reaction to the first time you saw Interstellar? What's your relationship to it now?
Well, my relationship with Interstellar is a lot like my relationship with some of like quite a few of Nolan's movies, where I'm blown away when I see it, but I don't necessarily need to see it again right away. If that makes sense. Like I remember being like amazed by the visuals and like really enjoying the story, but it's like I feel like sometimes it's an investment to get into that. Same thing with like Tenet, and even like I know you'll hate me for saying this, but even like Dunkirk. There's a lot of his movies that I think I've only watched the once. I'm not a big repeat viewer on a lot of his stuff. Not all the way through, at least. I think I'll watch certain scenes and rewatch certain bits just because I just really love how they look and how things, how he shoots and composes things. But like as an entire story, sometimes like yeah, I'm not getting into that, right? Like I don't want to, I can't go through.
Yeah.
That's it. And Interstellar is up there. It's like I really appreciate and love what he did, but I'm like, and I don't have the mental fortitude to sit through it right now.
Well, I think my reaction to Interstellar was probably pretty similar to a lot of people in that I was completely blown away by the movie visually, and
Yeah.
I was really on the same emotional wavelength of the movie.
Right.
I bumped up against the third act
Yeah.
a little bit, and we're purposely trying to not spoil things, folks. We're going to get into spoilers on the back half.
Yeah, that the normal format of the show is that we don't spoil things until later on the way back,
and give plenty of warning before we do that. But I think a lot of people had that same kind of reaction because like the movie takes a lot of big risks.
Well, that's what I mean. It's
end.
just a lot, right? And I think that's sort of something that has happened a lot with Nolan's movies is where he's basically just like off the leash, just do what you want. And he just tells a story he wants to tell. And sometimes it's a bit like, wow, that's a lot to take in. Like I felt the same way with like Tenet, which I really liked, but at the same time, it's just like, man, I'm getting a headache trying to follow what's going on in this movie, and I'm not sure I like that.
Well, and so I should say, like, I am a big repeat viewer of Nolan, and like I'm like a super big Nolan fan.
Well, that's the weird thing because I'm a super big Nolan fan too, and there's some of his movies that I've seen so many times, but just not any of his like more recent ones.
So the ones I go big for are like Dunkirk. I think you've already alluded to is one of my favorite movies of all time.
You're a big Dunkirk guy, and
I walked out of that theater like my knees were weak. I love that movie so much.
Arms are heavy,
and I've watched that probably 10 times since I saw it.
Wow.
And then others I've always really gone hard for. Like I love Memento. I love The Prestige. Obviously love the Dark Knight. Interstellar I had a lot of respect for, but again I didn't really love the ending.
Right.
Then a couple years ago I got like the Nolan 4K set, and I went through all of his movies again. And then my second time watching Interstellar, like it kind of clicked for me.
Oh,
and
really?
then I'm putting it very close to the top.
Oh wow, interesting.
Like
now I'm excited. Maybe it'll click for me tonight.
Either be like, number 3 or 4, probably number 3. Like I said, I really liked Dunkirk, Memento, and Prestige. It'd be either slotting in right after that or kind of right before the Prestige. And like, I don't know, I feel like going into this one and seeing it in its native format, it's really, really going to click for me. That's my expectation anyways.
Yeah.
So my second viewing, I kind of fell in love with it.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because I remember really enjoying it the first time. But yeah, I think I probably had the same kind of reservations you did. Especially, like you say, some of the third act stuff just kind of was very sort of mind bendy. And it kind of, and I don't know if that's just a case of like, there's just so much going on. It's like, I feel like your brain can only take in so much stuff. So maybe with, like you say, with a second viewing, it makes it a bit easier to sort of process all that stuff.
And I can totally see an audience going into it, and like there's some weird juxtaposition going on in that movie between like, it'll jump from scenes from different planets at one time, and a viewer might think like, what the heck's going on here? I'm getting a little disoriented.
Yeah, I think he does that sort of stuff on purpose though. It's the same thing where like the complaints around his sound mixing that he does.
Yeah, that's
like he does stuff. He does that stuff on purpose because he wants people to react in a certain way. When that's what I mean. Like he can do whatever he wants, and so people aren't gonna like that.
That is the one thing of Nolan that I'm like, all right, I definitely can hear the criticisms on that. I think I kind of
like it's
agree with them. Like,
though, because he definitely does it on purpose, and I don't really know why. It's like he's trolling people.
I don't think it's trolling people.
I know. I don't think he's either. It just seems that way.
I honestly think like he just has like this integrity about him, and he's like, sometimes it's hard to hear things, and I'm like, okay, like I don't agree with the choice, but I respect the choice.
Yeah, and I don't want to like offend anybody, but I agree, but that he has, but he's like a proper auteur and all that, but he is very much up his own ass, I think. in a detrimental way.
Well, sure, but wouldn't you be? Like, he's just like
I
such.
don't know. I mean, they're movies at the end of the day. Come on, man. Like, you don't have to make it so you can't hear people because you want people to struggle with life because life's a struggle. Like,
So I will say, after I saw Tenet, which I really, really enjoyed in theaters,
Yep.
I enjoyed it a lot more watching at home with subtitles on.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Because,
did you have a follow-on guide as well? I feel like that would probably help.
No, well, for me, it was like I couldn't hear some of like the plot points that they were talking about, and so, but the movie did really click for me when I was able to read subtitles, and I'm kind of a subtitle guy anyway. So
yeah, I am too. I've not rewatched Tenet though. I'm not a big rewatcher. I'm discovering.
You should rewatch Tenet. It's really good.
Yeah,
I feel like it's got like a really bum rap.
It really did, and I thought it was really unfair because I actually really liked it, and it was doing like. The thing about Nolan is like he doesn't stick to like, oh, this is what I know how to do. I'm just going to do the same thing again. Like he takes swings and he makes choices and he does like interesting new stuff. And you don't get many people doing that these days.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so you say like, you know, he can be up his own ass, and you know maybe he can.
Yeah,
but like
definitely can.
He loves movies and he loves practical effects. And he loves shooting things on film.
Yeah, he does.
And like, you know, thank goodness we have someone like that who is keeping this kind of format alive and like is dedicated to making quality original stories.
There's not many.
No.
There's not many people like that.
Well, there's not many people who like when you get into a fight with Warner Brothers says, I'm leaving. I'll go to any studio that'll give me $100 million budget and then 20% of the gross. And will let me make whatever I want.
Right.
And then, you know, he'll get bids from everybody. And then he goes and he makes $1 billion movie out of something that, you know, sounds pretty boring.
Yeah. Well, that's just it, right? I mean, yes, he is up his own ass and he's a big nerd, but he's proved that he can.
He's got the chops. Like,
it's like he's not without, he's got the receipts.
Yeah.
He's literally got the massive receipts.
And that's not to say like I'm always on his wavelength, because I'm not. Like
right.
I don't
think anybody is, to be fair.
I think that like
he is.
The one thing I really bump up against is I think sometimes his dialogue is like a little too, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but like just like too obvious and like too like speaking to the audience a little bit. So like that's
I mean he's not infallible, right? I mean it's like he's not very good at writing female characters. Let's give him that's very true.
And you know what? I think probably his best female character is in this movie.
Yeah, that's not
actually like maybe his best two female characters.
I mean it's like not the best accolade you could give someone.
Yeah. So and I like I said, one of my favorite filmmakers, but you know, stuff about him that I don't like, but it's all kind of part of the stew that makes him a special experience.
Yeah, I know you talked about your favorite movies, and I said that I don't like some of that, but I wanted to just agree. Memento and Prestige, I think, are my two favorite Nolan movies.
Oh yeah,
and they're the ones I have seen. I think I've seen The Prestige probably more than any other Nolan movie. I don't really know why. I just love that movie. I'm not even saying it's his best. I don't think it's his best movie. It's just the one I like the most.
I think like between those two, those are his two best written movies for sure.
Yeah, that might be why. I think it's just.
Have you seen every one of his movies?
It's got David Bowie in it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, what was his very first one?
That's the one I haven't seen. I haven't seen Following.
I haven't seen Following, but I've seen all of us. I haven't seen any of his short films either. I know he's done a bunch of those.
No, neither have I.
But no, I've seen them all. Some I've only seen once. Like I think I only saw Insomnia once. I haven't seen one that I didn't like. I'll give you that. I'll give him that. I don't think you mentioned either Inception. I've seen that a lot of times.
Yeah, and you know that's one that I've kind of had the opposite reaction to. You're
not an Inception fan?
Well, I am, but I think like I used to have it at the top of my list, and it's been slowly like working its way down over the years.
I think Inception is one of those movies that it's just like, yeah, everyone knows it's great, but I think you kind of forget how great it is the longer away from when you've last seen it.
What I respect so much about Inception is that, you know, that was that was the movie he made in between
You're right.
Dark Knight and
I'll
Dark Knight
just take
Rises.
a break from Batman and just do an amazing freaking movie.
What director goes like, all right, I'm gonna make my arty movie in between like two superhero movies, and then his arty movie is like as big of a grosser as all of his superhero
well, that's
movies.
the thing, right? Not only is he making original, amazing movies, they make bank.
They make bank, yeah.
I don't know what it is. He's got that secret sauce. Like, I don't know why it brings people out. To be honest with you.
Well, I guess like he's one of the few directors that are kind of a brand onto themselves.
And like he has, I think he's like, what do they call it? The 4-quadrant appeal. It's not just like the nerdy guys like me and you are going to go in and like, oh, I just shot it with IMAX cameras and 70mm. Well, but it's also got everyone that loves Chris Nolan just because his hit rate is so good.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think, like, especially in the last 5 years or so now, there's a reluctance for people to go out to the theater.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's like a few instances where people kind of come out to the theater en masse. You know, it's like some kind of like pop cultural event, like Barbie or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it's part of a franchise and you don't want something spoiled.
Right.
Or like you go because you know you're going to see a spectacle that you can't really experience at home.
It's going to be worth it.
And then that's kind of what Christopher Nolan is guaranteeing you, is that like, you know, that like you're not really going to get the same experience if you just watch this at home later on.
True.
Kind of the same with like, you know, everyone's going to go and see Avatar, even if people aren't big fans of Avatar. Even though like,
those Avatar movies make so much money.
Yeah, like it's, again, I quite like Way of Water, even though the movie's a little brain dead. Like I
really like
that was just an incredible experience, right? And those are kind of things that are going to bring people out to see them.
Exactly. So I wanted to talk to you before we run out of time on the way here about his new movie that's starting up production. Have you been
starring everybody?
Yeah, starring some interesting people at least. Yeah, for sure. And like totally under wraps. Nobody knows what's going on with it. But
well, there were rumors earlier that it was like a 1920s vampire movie.
Yes, I did hear that.
I don't think that that's still true. I don't know.
No, and that seems like, because isn't that kind of seems similar to what
Nosferatu?
Well, not even that, but the new Coogler movie, isn't that like a period monster movie? I don't know if that's vampires necessarily, but
I think it was. Yeah, I think it's like zombies or something. It's called the Coogler movie Sinners.
Yes.
And I was actually going to mention that one because that's the one release in 2025 that was filmed partially in 70mm
nice.
IMAX.
Look at that! Well, we didn't even talk about that beforehand. Right? We're so good at this podcast and stuff.
Like we're just in sync, man. In sync. But I was going to say, like, we definitely have to make a commitment to see that in 70mm IMAX now.
Definitely.
sorry to commit you to that, Pete.
No, I don't really want to see that movie, so we'll make the trip out again. It's fine.
But like, you know, when I was looking at that list of like movies that are partially made in 70mm IMAX, because no feature length movie's been made entirely.
Ryan Coogler's never done it before, has he?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, no. This is the first one. But like it's at most it's like one a year. So like we can do it once a year. Make this trip out to this theater to see it.
Definitely. Well, I'll tell you what though, I would definitely be here for a Christopher Nolan horror movie. I have no idea what that would be, but I know I would be very excited if that's the way he's going.
Is this movie the closest he's gotten to doing a horror movie? Maybe Insomnia is a little bit of a horror.
Yeah, it's more thriller though, right?
Like this movie's got some pretty scary parts to it.
Yeah, like I feel like we've had this conversation before about what makes a horror movie a horror movie. It's a tricky distinction, but I mean, like full on horror with monsters and stuff.
It's when I get scared. No, this movie, there are parts that fill me with dread because there are like small but consequential actions people have to take, or else the human race is done for. And like that, like it puts like a queasy feeling in my stomach. There are villains in this movie.
Yeah, but I mean, you just described every Marvel movie, and they're not horrors.
Well, okay, I'll say the way that some of these scenes are played are played for horror a little bit.
Definitely.
And there's some.
I'm taking the piss a bit.
And there's some weight to them, like the way that there's never been for a Marvel movie, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I don't think I would call it a horror movie though.
No,
like in the classic sense.
I'm saying like this might be the closest, but probably Insomnia is a little closer. Like there's a serial killer in that one.
True. Yeah. But no, I'm.
He'd probably be good at
I
it.
know we said that everyone's in it, but where are my notes?
Anne Hathaway and Tom
Holland and Zendaya in
Yeah.
it. Well,
Who else is in there?
well, he likes working with the same people again, right? So we got Matt Damon again, Robert Pattinson again. Has he ever worked with Charlize Theron?
I don't think so.
No, but so she's in it, and Lupita Nyong'o. That is some cast. There's only 6 people.
That's incredible cast, right?
Only 6 people announced so far. Maybe he's going for another Oppenheimer, or every now and again he's just going to announce another person, and it's like, just announce who's not in the movie? It's just going to be easier.
Yeah, when they were like announcing that Oppenheimer cast list, like
it was insane.
Like,
it was crazy. Yeah,
but like Casey Affleck's going to show up for 5 seconds, and
but there was a rumor that I read that I wanted to ask you about, because I don't know how I would feel about this. So the rumor for this new movie is that there is actually going to be a remake of Blue Thunder. Have you heard this?
No.
Do you know Blue Thunder?
No, what's Blue Thunder?
It's a movie. It's an 80s action movie about helicopter pilots, like in the future.
You know what? I did hear about that. Okay. No, but I've never seen Blue Velvet. Blue Velvet. I've seen Blue Velvet. I've not seen Blue Thunder.
Because I saw that rumor was gaining a bit of traction, because like I guess he's been working with like helicopter pilots and doing research and stuff, and they're saying that it's going to be like an older and younger, like Matt Damon sort of.
Matt Damon with Tom Holland
and
the helicopters.
Like the elder teaching the newer person how to be a cool helicopter policeman.
Okay, I guess I could see that.
And honestly, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because that's the good thing about Nolan, is he'll do anything.
Yeah,
he'll do a remake of an 80s action movie, or he'll do a period horror piece, and either one I'd be psyched for. It probably won't be either of those things now, and it'll be something completely different.
Well, it seems like the new pattern he's going on is like, I'll make like a historical drama, then I'll go back to my sci-fi stuff.
Well, I think the thing as well is like, because Oppenheimer did so well, and I think even like his wife's like produces his movies, right? I saw a quote from her, and they were like, after Oppenheimer, it was like, you can do whatever you want. Like you don't even have to ask us. Like, here's the keys to the kingdom. Like whatever your whimsy is, just go do it. And I feel like that could literally be anything at this point.
Yeah, well, and at this point, like I'm sure he just wants to like have fun.
Yeah, do stuff that he finds exciting, right?
Like, do I think that he really wants to like make an Academy Award winner where he's going to be like having to go on the awards circuit all the time? Like probably not. Like he probably just wants to do something to challenge himself.
Yeah, I'd love it if he just did do something just like a remake of an 80s action movie. That would be insane.
You know, I got to see this movie now. Have you seen it?
I've not seen it either, no.
Yeah, no. Who's in it? Is there anyone?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I didn't do that much research.
Well, more research than I did. I've never even heard of it really before. Well, we're just sort of pulling up to the theater now. Is there anything we wanted to preface before we go in there?
No. Do we want to do any shilling before we get into like the second half? I know we usually wait till the end to sort of try and pimp our social media accounts and whatnot.
Follow us on social media. Give us 5 stars. If you're new to the podcast, we'll often say like, give us a review that says
tell your friends
we're really bad, but give us 5 stars to like feed the algorithm.
Right.
Or you can also say nice things too. That's fine.
Or just don't say anything as well. That's an option.
Yeah. Well, you can always reach out to us at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com, or, we're on Instagram. I got Blue Sky first the other day.
Oh,
we
nice.
haven't posted on there, but it exists.
Yeah, that seems to be the prevailing winds, right?
Kind of, reach out to us and say, what your favorite Chris Nolan movie is. Is it Interstellar? Like, is mine going to be Interstellar by the time I see this movie? Think probably not, but maybe it'll be number 2.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I'm usually like, I have recency bias a lot, especially with Nolan stuff. So whatever I've seen, I'm like, that was amazing.
I think you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it the first time I saw it. There's no reason why I wouldn't love it the second time. It's not going to look worse, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. All right, so if you're new to the pod, Pete and I are going to go inside and watch the movie. Then we're going to come back and give you a spoiler-free review of Interstellar before giving you plenty of warning before we head into spoiler talk. And then I'll also give you my famous pee report, tell you the best time to go pee during This
already
very long
already made
viewing?
notes. Already made notes this week, Trevor. It's like I remember this, Dom.
I probably should have. Right?
Like
Like
you don't have
it's
to guess that anymore. You've seen this many times.
yeah. I can probably tell you right now. But I'm not trying to spoil anything.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
When someone like flips over a plate and there's a lot of dust on it, you go.
Wow, there you go.
Go.
Got it already.
Yeah.
The dusty plate scene.
All right. Anything else we should queue up?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty excited. Like I'm more excited than usual. I think I'm excited to see what this print looks like.
Well, it's going to be just a pure cinematic experience, right? Like
Yes.
this is what we live for.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing we didn't really mention is like how crazy people were going online to get tickets for this.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was a little disappointed about. Is it didn't seem to-
Humanity.
Yeah, or no, not even that, but like just not. There doesn't seem to be that many showings of it. I thought it'd be a bit of a wider release.
I feel like they're going to have to add more shows because like if you're on some of the subreddits, like people are kind of just like going crazy. Like, how can I get tickets to these? And then some people are trying to sell their tickets for $200 or whatever. And
You didn't tell me that.
well, luckily I have both of our tickets here.
I'm just joking.
I just feel lucky because we just I was just kind of checking the app around the time that these went up because they all went really, really fast.
Yeah. I'm glad you're on the ball, Trevor.
Yeah, there we go. Otherwise I would have paid $200 for this for sure.
I would not have published.
All right, anything else to say, Pete, before we go in?
No, I don't think so. Just
all right.
Stay tuned, guys.
Yeah, wish us luck, everybody.
Welcome back, everyone. We've just left the theater to seeing the special 70mm print of Interstellar. Wow, that was impressive, Trevor.
Yeah, and what's more impressive is we've gained a passenger.
Oh, someone in the back of the car.
So we have our friend Anthony from Anthony's Corner with us to give us a quick overview of his experience. So Anthony,
welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's ours, man. The pleasure's ours.
So you saw this movie last night as well in digital laser 70mm, right? Or sorry, IMAX
Equivalent.
Yeah.
So how does this compare to that just like a regular IMAX experience?
The first thing that comes to mind is texture. And yes, the IMAX themselves say that the dual laser system is their next best equivalent to having the film presentation. And even running two 4K projectors side by side, texture is totally different. I feel like when any time that we saw the spacesuits, or even there at the longest stretch of the wider ratio with the, I suppose we'll want to save some of that for the spoiler section. Dirt plays a big role, and I felt like I could touch it, and I could feel the dirt. So texture is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I don't think that's something that you can emulate with digital, is that kind of thing. It's hard to quantify, but yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. I was saying with texture, because it's just like it's that quality that film has that you just can't replicate, no matter how good your digital projector is.
When you said you had originally seen Interstellar in AVX 10 years ago now, and now you've seen it twice in theaters, while having seen it a lot at home since then. Mm-hmm. Is there something that has unlocked for the movie for you in the last two nights, and specifically tonight in 70mm?
Something that doesn't translate well to the home experience, even having a surround setup, is just the sheer power of the sound mix for this film. There's many sections, including the music itself, that literally rumbles you, and there's no other way to capture that. And the actual just sheer volume of it is astounding.
Well, I know for me, there was one moment, the movie's never got me with its jump scare, but it got me this time. I
knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming, and it's still completely like made me lurch from my seat.
Yeah, I can confirm that Trevor left his seat at that point for a brief moment.
I was worried about that ahead of time, especially for Scotia. And then it got me last night. And it still got me again tonight.
Yeah,
It is perfect.
Yeah, it is really perfect.
Yeah, I just wanted to tag on what you were saying about the sound. It is amazing that the sound design in this movie, and even like the juxtaposition between like silence and then like really overpowering score. It's just like it works so well. There's a couple of points where it just like the audio will just drop out completely. It was like it works so well. Like it's just an amazing job.
And that's something that I actually noticed both last night and tonight as well, that when there is a quiet section, because we're in space, the whole auditorium was silent. Like the audience is just
you can hear the film
stunned.
camera, you can hear the film projector cranking.
That was honestly one of my favorite parts, is when, you know, it's showing Endurus going past Jupiter, and then it goes completely quiet, and then you just hear that, you know, the ticking, and the audience, I have to say, was such a great audience. Like everyone was just in awe the whole night, and you kind of like felt that everyone felt the power of the movie.
There was even applause at the end, which doesn't often.
It was a bit of a delayed applause too, I would say.
Someone started the golf clap.
Last night as well, Scotia did the applause.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It feels like it's respectful to to applaud.
He can hear it. He records it, and they'll send it to Chris Nolan's home. I'm pretty sure.
All right, so Anthony, before we let you go, like how does Interstellar kind of rank in your own like personal pantheon of movies, and like how does it rank in Christopher Nolan movies for you?
Well, he put him on the spot there.
Yeah.
No prep time for that one. You just go right into it. It'll be forever recording, so you'll never be able to take it back.
I would say, as far as Christopher Nolan films, first,
it's tough, right?
it's really tough.
Especially when you just walked out of there.
I think it edges past Inception for me, and Inception is one that I really do enjoy. But it edges by just a little bit, and I would probably put it at my top.
Okay.
Right now.
You go. How are you feeling, Pete?
That's interesting, because I remember before, when we were on our way down, Trevor was mentioning that after he saw it for his second time, like it bumped right up his list of best Nolan movies, and I think I'm kind of in the same camp. Like going in, I was kind of like, I really appreciated the movie. It wasn't probably my top 3, or maybe even top 5. No, that's being a bit harsh. But it definitely wasn't my top 3 Nolan, I don't think. But yeah, like coming out of that now, like I've got a really great appreciation for that movie. It was amazing. It got me. I think as well, like 10 years on in my life, I think the definitely the parental relationships in it just hit way harder, so that might have something to do with it. But yeah, definitely has jumped up my list for sure. I don't know if I'd put it on the tippy top, but it's definitely been amongst there for sure.
A lot changes in 10 years.
It does, man. Yeah, more than you think.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to tinker on this one a little bit. It might be in the number 2 slot for me now.
Oh, right behind I don't know what to guess.
What's that?
Dunkirk, right?
Yeah, Dunkirk's still number 1 for me.
Yeah, that's not in my top 5.
It's okay. I think it's a bit of an anomaly, yeah. But no, I had an incredible experience with this.
And that version of it, just like I said, I only seen it the once. I've never even repeat viewed it, but it was just it literally just takes your breath away seeing it on that screen with that print. It's insane how good it is.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing too, because you go into it with all of these images of space and grandeur and all of these things that are going to happen, but at the end of it, it's this very personal central message that it carries, and it's all just this one vehicle for that one message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very, very character driven, right? Like personal story. You're right.
And that's the kind of that was the message that people were like bumping up against when it came out. Like, it was not like as universally loved as other Christopher Nolan movies, and I think time has been very kind to this movie in that regard. I think people have kind of come around to that. I know I certainly did.
Yeah, I think without getting too much into it as well, I think the third act stuff is very like mind bending, and I think you lose a lot of, especially a lot of the general audience are just like, I have no clue what's going on anymore. And because that was my reaction the first time I saw it. I was a bit like, well, this is too much for my brain to fit. But I felt like I had a much better grasp on it this time around. But we can get into that. The trip back.
For sure. Well, Anthony, thanks for coming out. Really appreciate that, and your expertise on film and IMAX in particular is always really welcome.
Oh, thank you again for having me.
Yeah, thanks very much, man. It's always a pleasure to have a guest on. But you're a good egg.
Very good. That's his highest compliment. Like he's never said that to me. So.
You're not a good egg.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, well, any parting advice?
If you ever get a chance to see any presentation in IMAX or film for that matter, please take it. It's definitely something that's a bit of a dying breed, and more than ever, we need those experiences that are authentic and really capture the world the way that we see it ourselves.
Wow, that's
incredibly well said, my friend.
That's great. Yeah, well, and Pete and I had already made a commitment to see Sinners in 70 millimeter when, like, if it comes to the Toronto area. I certainly hope it does.
Where do we have to go? Where's the comfortable Tempur-Pedic seats?
That would be Reading, Massachusetts.
Okay, well, there we go.
We're heading to Massachusetts.
We'll go there.
we'll make a holiday of it.
All right, we just utilized Newton's third law, and we jettisoned Anthony out, and we're swinging away from Gargantuan.
Yeah, there he goes. Good luck. God bless.
I hope he can, like, somehow measure the data and find a way to relay it to us.
I'm sure there's a library somewhere about he can start messing with.
Okay. Are we in spoilers? Are we in spoilers,
Trevor?
yet?
Come on now. Spoilers for science. All right. Yeah. Well, let's not spoil the ending, and we'll just get into our continue our initial reactions here.
Anything else we need to talk about before we get into details?
I don't know. Did we want to? Are we recommending this movie to people?
Well, there you go. So maybe we can go into this a bit more detail. You said that this was
I don't know where I'd place it, because it's like I said, recency bias is like. And now I'm like, it's the best movie ever made because I just walked out of it.
Yeah. Honestly, man, like it was powerful.
It's
like
very good, man. It's way. I enjoyed it. Honestly, I'll be totally honest with you. I enjoyed it way more than I was anticipating.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I remembered really like being a bit. I remember the ending falling flat the first time I watched it, and it did not fall flat for me this time.
Well, and
there's certain things that I can nitpick at, which we'll get into, but no, it really got me this time.
You kind of hinted this before, but like you weren't a father.
No, exactly. And I was thinking about that because I was like, why didn't this affect me as much last time? I guess because it was 10 years ago.
And I honestly think knowing kind of what it's not really a twist, but kind of knowing where the plot of the movie goes. I guess it is a bit of a twist, but knowing where it goes kind of really helps you get onto the wavelength before.
Yeah, true.
So I'd say even if someone is watching Interstellar for the first time and it's not really clicking for you, definitely give it another try.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot to take in the first time you see it. And that's what I think I was trying to say that on the way here. I think like it doesn't give or for me at least, it didn't give my brain enough leeway to like process the information enough to actually like get into the meat of the story. It was a lot of like, I need to understand the science behind this. And then it's like, my brain's broken. I can't follow this anymore. I give up. But yeah, to your point, like going in a second time and having sort of the baseline knowledge that you need, like you can really focus on what it's trying to say as a piece of art, I guess, without sounding too wanky. But yeah, man, it really did get me, because I mean, at the end of the day, without spoiling it, it's a story about the love a parent has for their child, and what it can overcome and all that kind of nonsense. But which
you're gonna choke me up here.
That's right. I was choked up big time at the end of that movie. Yeah, so, it's good.
So the question is, like, do you think love is a force that can transcend space and time? Because I'm going to say yes, right? After seeing that movie.
Yeah. I want to believe so, at least.
Well, I don't know, like film as a medium, proves that that you can transfer powerful ideas
There you
across
go,
space
man.
and
You know
time.
what? You've
Christopher Nolan made that movie 10 years ago, and it gave us an incredibly impactful experience tonight.
There you go. Yeah, he's a genius. He figured it out.
I mentioned that on my second viewing of this movie at home, it unlocked for me, and I had a greater appreciation for that.
Did it unlock even further?
It unlocked even further for me. Honestly, like there were things that had bothered me about that movie still.
Okay, good, because there's a few things that bother me, and I'm hoping that you can sway me.
So the things that were still bothering me in the second viewing,
what do we want to get
related to?
Should we go?
No, not quite yet.
Okay, go.
But related to the editing. But
okay.
I clicked into the decisions on some of the editing choices.
Okay,
and so then I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. It does not bother me anymore. Gotcha. And then also kind of appreciated the cleverness that I think that they're doing.
Right.
And then I appreciate myself for being so clever for figuring out what they were doing. But really, like just as a theatrical experience, this was really incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you can say this about all these movies, but they're made to be seen, like in a theater, surrounded by people, in the biggest screen possible, with the best sound system you can find. It's not a movie to watch on your phone, guys. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, like the reason why I love going to the theater is to kind of capture the feeling that I have right now.
Well, that's just it, right? That's why people go back. That's why I go back. It's why even though it's had its problems and it's still struggling quite a lot, I don't think it'll ever die. Not fully.
Not completely.
No, because you can't replicate that experience. Doesn't matter how big your screen is at home. Doesn't matter how good your sound system is at home. It's just not the same. It never will be, I don't think. That's me getting on my soapbox anyway.
Well, get on that soapbox.
Yeah, just keep making good movies, man. Keep giving Chris Nolan money.
Well, and as of the time that we're recording, it's rumored that, theater companies are going to be extending the run of the Interstellar in IMAX. I certainly hope that is true. Like we're going to be publishing this.
You want to go back?
Probably not go back quite so soon.
What are you doing tomorrow?
My wife probably wouldn't because we're already doing like a double episode this week. This is kind of coming as bonus content.
Right. True.
But no, like just chasing that theatrical experience. Like honestly, without spoiling, like when Endurus is going past Jupiter, or they're on man's planet, and you kind of just get that full 70 millimeter scope there, and kind of taking it all in. I'm just like, yeah, man, just pump this straight into my veins. Like this is honestly what I.
And honestly, like even some of the shots, like on Earth, I think will just look so good.
Yeah.
Even not even like the big, like showstoppers like you just mentioned, but like so some of the shots of like, hey, it's just this farmhouse and his truck, but it just looks so beautiful on that huge frame, and like Anthony was saying, just the texture of it. It's like you can feel the dirt, you can feel it. It's you can't replicate it. You just can't.
Well, and some of the decisions too to like, because they're switching from 70 to 35.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is that? Do you find that jarring?
I don't find it jarring. Well,
but because I found myself looking for it though. Like especially the first like 15 minutes, I was looking and being like, oh, look at that! It's changed quite a bit here, and now we're in this aspect ratio, and now it's going to flip. Well, but then I stopped even noticing it, to be honest.
In the first like 30 seconds of the movie, it goes from looking at one of the testimonials to like him flying a jet, and it switches to 70 millimeter, and I literally like gasped. Like it is honestly just so powerful.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like an assault on the eyeballs, but in a good way.
But then sometimes, like Coop is driving in his car, and then it just switches to that while they're still in the car. I'm like, I don't know why they made the decision to go with 70 there.
Honestly, I think sometimes it's just like, I feel like sometimes you're just like, we can't fit the camera here for this shot, so we're not going to use it.
I think that's probably why.
Can we use it here? It's like, yeah, but then you couldn't it with this stuff. It's like, we don't care.
Like I guarantee at some point he's going to figure out how to do the full like length of
a full movie, and
and it's not even like a full like regular movie. It's a full Christopher Nolan movie, which will be 3 hours. But he's going to do it at some point.
Yeah, you'll have to do it. Like, what's that movie that's coming out where it's just all shot in the house?
Here?
Yeah, you'll have to do that. Just stick it on a tripod and just say, okay, we're going to do the full movie in front of it.
Make that movie more expensive. That'll help.
Just going to make bank. Got some acts in it.
So you recommend this movie then?
Yes,
Pete?
I would recommend this movie wholeheartedly. It's, I mean, if Christopher Nolan has not done a bad movie for my money, he's not even done a less than great movie, I don't think. And this is one of his best, so that tells you everything you need to know.
Well, yeah, he's king of the theatrical experience, and that's what we're all about on this podcast.
Yeah.
We're all about the theatrical experience.
Look, final word approved.
Exactly. There we go. Enough said. So we are going to move into spoiler talk, I think, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect time to go to the bathroom. 1 hour, 43 minutes. A Jeep pulls over to the side of the road. You got about a good solid 5 minutes at that point.
Jeep pulls over to the side of the road?
Yeah, Jessica Chastain and Topher Grace are in a Jeep.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, right, yes, I know what you're saying. Like when they're downtown, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And again, she's explained to Topher Grace something that she already knows and the audience already knows. That's kind of what I'm always looking for.
Right.
Those, but like
you should have been an editor, Trevor. We could lose this piece. We know this information already.
Well, I think it still is.
It's an important development of their relationship.
I would say it's important to give the audience some breathing room sometimes.
Very true. You
got to give them times to go to the bathroom if you're not going to put an intermission.
People need to process this stuff. It's a high science, man.
So The Brutalist, which is a movie that's also coming to 70 millimeter later this year, has a built-in intermission inside of it.
Oh, I've heard that. I've heard people pushing for that. Who was it that was pushing for that?
I don't know. Me, maybe? Like
no, like
is it Empire, maybe?
No, I think like a director. I can't remember who it was, but I read an article about some director who was really pushing for an intermission, and the studio wouldn't let him do it. But I mean, like, I'm all for that. Have an intermission, man.
Pushing for intermissions.
Yeah, stretch your legs out, man.
I think it's nice.
Right.
I think like even like putting an intermission there for 30 minutes. Let me go get a burger.
30-minute intermission, like a 2-hour intermission. I'll go take a nap.
I want to make a day of
it. Although, yeah, it is like if you've got a 4-hour movie, you need one.
All right. So if spoilers bother you for Interstellar, and you haven't seen Interstellar, you definitely need to stop this podcast and watch the movie.
Immediately.
Come back and check in with us and email us at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com to say thank you for this great recommendation.
Yeah, thank us.
You know what?
It's all because of us. Let's be real here. Send us money.
You think no one's going to be sending us some checks after this one? Probably.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
With kickbacks.
Okay. Well, let's get...
Sure, he needs it.
All right, let's get into spoiler talk.
All right, let's do it. So where do we start with spoiler talk, Trevor? Where you know what I want to hear about? And I know you said it was a lot of the editing and stuff, but what was clearer for you on the third viewing that wasn't on the second or first?
So what I always kind of appreciate about this movie is that it's like half like a Great Depression movie and half like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it, man.
And
did you come up with that by yourself?
No, that's definitely been said by other people.
I'm gonna say that's good, man.
Oh well, thanks. Yeah, I did do that. Yeah, it's half Grapes of Wrath, half 2001: A Space Odyssey. You've never heard that from anyone else besides for me.
Put it on the poster.
And the climax of the movie is when they're on Man's planet, and you're also at Coop's family farm.
Right.
And it's going back and forth between those two moments because those two moments are actually happening at the exact same time.
Right. Yeah.
And
relatively.
No, it's not relatively. Those two moments because this actually plays a part into my discovery on this one.
Okay, so explain it to me.
So it's going back and forth between those because those are all happening at the exact same time. Those are both like important moments in both their journeys. Right.
Well, so which bit's happening on the farm?
The bit that's happening at the farm,
when they're trying to rescue the wife and kids.
Yeah, because Casey Affleck is a dick.
Yeah,
and he's refusing to let their his wife and son go because he has this deep evil inside of him, like all mankind does.
Like all Afflecks.
And then like all Afflecks, especially Casey Affleck, if we're being honest. Casey Affleck, great actor, terrible person. And that's kind of what's going on in Cooper's journey as well, right? Like they're set in a struggle between like, is the good of humanity going to survive, or is the bad of humanity going to survive?
Right.
And they're kind of going back and forth between all that, and it always kind of bothered me that then the movie takes about a half-hour break, and it kind of focuses on Cooper and Brand, and then it checks back in at that exact same moment later on.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So it's like you're like, this should have been happening.
I said this is kind of sloppy editing a little bit, or like they should have come back the next day or something like that.
Timeline doesn't work here anymore.
But then, so on this watch, it clicked in for me like they do kind of they diverge at that point, and every point that it checks back in with Jessica Chastain and Murphy, it's after they start launching into the black hole. So then they're revisiting them in the past at that point.
I see.
And so I thought that was very clever, because it doesn't go back to Murphy until they start towards Gargantuan, and the power of gravity helps the editing of the movie go back to that point in time.
There you go.
So, anyways,
is that ever clear, everyone?
Was that clear for you?
It makes perfect sense to me.
Okay,
I think.
I don't know if you're being honest or not, but
I'm not really. No, that's one of the things about the movie that still on the second time it affected me a lot less, but it's still a lot of and it's just the nature of talking about quantum physics and stuff. It's just like you're not going to be able to understand it, so don't try. Just listen to what we're telling you and just go with it.
Well, that's the thing, like, and I feel like this kind of goes along with Tenet as well. Like, you don't have to completely understand it.
Yeah, you have to be okay with a bit of hand waving, just because of the way it is. Just go with it, man.
Well, but you also have to be okay with like the fact you have to accept that there's a smart person on the camera explaining to you that this makes perfect sense, and just take their analogy at face value. Like, you don't have to internalize it and make it make sense yourself.
You don't have to understand it. Just go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do struggle with that a bit though sometimes, like especially with the very end, and I think like the emotionality of it like really got me this time. But I was still a bit like, what's going on now? The one, and this is really nitpicky, but the one thing that I was really confused, that I'm still confused about, is that so obviously a lot of time has passed from when she has that eureka moment and he gets shunted out of the black hole, I guess, back to Saturn. I don't really know how that works, but whatever. So how much, and this is why, because the time aspect of this confuses me, how much time is supposed to have passed for like Anne Hathaway on her little planet? Like none?
So basically she's like kind of was coasting towards Wolf Edmund's planet.
Right.
They mentioned that it was a few months away. So she's going to be getting there in a few months. Maybe it's like a couple of years, because they don't really have like boosters anymore. They're just kind of going off gravity.
I guess I'm just like trying to go on. So what's your point?
So I think the footage that we're seeing of Anne Hathaway is not the footage happening in real time.
Right.
I think that's the footage of when she had first gotten there.
Yeah, now she said she takes a long sleep.
Yeah,
right?
she's
been waiting there.
So we see her getting the base fully set up before she goes in for the long nap, waiting for the rest of humanity to get to her.
Okay, so I think this is what I didn't quite understand. So the plan was for them to go set up the base and to start a new colony, right?
Yeah.
So is that what she's doing?
Yeah.
Like,
so
how do they start a colony if she's hibernating?
So this kind of goes into the plan A, plan B stuff.
Yeah. Like plan B was like, they said they had that lab, right? And it was like fake surrogacy or something.
Yeah. So they have embryos. They have enough embryos to basically start the whole colony.
Right.
They would incubate 10. So like basically like have like artificial wombs, grow 10 kids, and then after generation they would like have enough to kind of be self-sustaining. But plan A, which was always the plan that they thought would never actually work, was you would kind of set up base and say, this is the planet you all have to go to, and then wait for everyone else to get there.
Was that plan A?
That was plan A. Is that you take millions of people in these space stations and bring them to that planet.
Gotcha. Right.
But like the secret that Michael Caine had was that, he never actually believed in plan A, but because people are selfish, they would not commit to plan B.
Right.
They would not put the resources into sending a ship
I
into
think
space.
that's what I'm not understanding fully is that, okay, so at the end of the movie, is plan A still to go and find that planet? Because my question, my question is, why has nobody done that then? Why are they sending Coop like 80 years later or whatever it is?
because I think it took a very long time to get the space stations up and going.
I guess fair.
And they are harnessing the power of gravity to make all these space stations move, which I have to imagine is not as fast as using fuel. So I think they're kind of just very slowly moving towards.
Like the whole space station has got their shit and you go ahead. But I mean, like, to me, it's like they would have been sending people, surely. Like, I got the impression that, like, nobody's been to Anne Hathaway's new planet. Oh, so except for when Coop goes. I'm like, so nobody's gone there just to check to make sure everything's okay?
But so you have to remember that when they slungshot past Gargantuan, she caught a lot of that time too. So she aged like 80 years or whatever when she was going through that same thing. So it really hasn't been that long for her.
I get that it hasn't been that long, but if you're a person on that space station, I'm just trying to put my mind into a person's, because like Murph at the end of the movie is like 120 years old or whatever they said she was.
Yeah.
So let's say like 50 years after they've got their space station into the air. They're just kind of like sticking around playing baseball, twiddling their thumbs. Like, what are they doing?
But you got to think, like, so she's about 35 or whatever when she throws all that stuff up in the air. But they don't say space station; they say space stations. How long do you think it would take to get multiple space stations up and out of Earth's orbit?
Right. Granted, but while they're doing that, could they not just send a spaceship through the wormhole again?
They don't have.
Is the wormhole not there anymore?
But
I'm so confused.
You also have to think Anne Hathaway. She slungshot past Gargantuan and 80 years passes for her.
Right.
At the point where Jessica Chastain and everybody are getting those space stations out, they have not yet received word that Edmund's planet is viable.
Right.
So they're kind of just hanging out in space.
Right.
They haven't even heard yet that Edmund's planet is viable.
They're just planning on living on the space station.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that makes sense because that's what I almost had it in my brain when I started that thought because they wouldn't have even known any of that.
Yeah, they were probably already in space for like 30 years before they had ever even heard from Anne Hathaway that I've arrived at this planet now.
Yeah, but the devil's advocate again though, like wouldn't that necessitate to send another mission then? If they're like, we haven't heard anything, we don't know which planet we're supposed to go to, maybe we should send more people to check which planet to go to.
Oh, yeah. Interesting point. I think that was probably...
Why is tripping me up so much? It's such a nitpicky thing to complain about.
Well, that's getting into like a policy issue. So
like, who's making the decisions on this?
So I think because... and like
wasting so much time on this.
It's like this is the nitty gritty stuff that people sign up for. But like so Murphy Cooper is like a renowned woman or whatever, right? Yeah. They still don't believe her that like my father's ghost told me this formula or whatever, right?
That's right.
I think she's convinced everybody, hey, we have this ability, we can take everyone off this dying planet.
We'll just live in that.
And then people are like, this is fine.
Yeah, this
like
will work.
We don't have to go anywhere else. We can survive here. Like we have to have like a small sustainable population, but we can survive here for 100, 200, 300 years.
It's like,
so why are we in a hurry?
We'll just live on hover chairs forever.
Is this a prequel to WALL-E?
I think it might be.
Anyways, are you okay with that?
Like, yeah, I'm square.
At some point, someone has made the decision to not send somebody out. Maybe it's been like, they just heard from Anne Hathaway like a month ago.
Well, and to be fair, I guess it's much more difficult to convince someone to just leave their family and everyone they know, and it's not like life-threatening anymore.
That's a really good point.
Like Coop's not got anything to stay for, right? So there's nothing stopping him from going. Yeah. I don't know. It seemed a little bit like I'm going to steal a spaceship and just go through the wormhole. It's like, wow, that seemed very easy. I wonder why nobody has ever done that before. But to be fair, they didn't say that nobody ever had done that before. So
this is the third time this has happened.
Why don't we put locks on these spaceships, people? Who's got the keys?
Guess they never had to do it before.
Right? No one would be stupid enough to do that, apart from Cooper.
Yeah. So it's kind of a theme of the movie is that humanity can't really be trusted to make like decisions in its own best interest, right? Because people just have this frame of reference around themselves, right?
Yeah.
And it extends to your children and maybe a few like close friends or something, but then you can't.
So okay, here this is another thing that I'm still a bit on like. And maybe it's just because it's not so much of a rug pull the second time you see it, but the whole Dr. Man part of it, like, also, like, it's very much framed like it's a reveal that it's Matt Damon, because it was. Like, it was a bit of a secret.
It's
like, they don't show the picture on the wall, and then like when they unzip it, they're like really hiding who it is until they say something like it's Matt Damon. But like the second time, I know it's Matt Damon. You don't have to make it a secret anymore.
It is like an exclamation point, though, that it's Matt Damon.
It
like,
is, but I mean, like, only the first time you see it. The second time, you're like, yeah, I know it's Matt Damon. Let's get on with it. And the fact that his name is Dr. Man, it's a little too much on the nose for me.
It is lame that they say, oh, that's Dr. Man. He's the best of us.
The best man. At least they didn't say, like, it's just a small step for Dr. Man.
No.
That would have been amazing, to be fair.
So that's the kind of Nolan stuff that I'm just like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, it's like you didn't have to name him Man.
Yeah.
Dr.
Hugh Man.
And like his heel turn, I really appreciate it, and he's done very well. But it's just it veers a little too close to like cartoon villainy for me a bit at points.
I don't know. It really works for me, like because he is just so pathetic.
Yeah,
and like he goes there to murder Cooper, and he tries to murder him in like the way that like a 6-year-old would try to murder someone. It's like, I'm gonna push you over this cliff and then try to kick you with my foot, and then first he says, I thought I could stomach watching you die, but I can't. I'm a coward. I'm sorry. And then he leaves. He's like, I'm going to talk to you this whole time. And he's like, oh, you know what? This is bothering me too much. I have to turn it off.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think it's a little. Like, I understand that I get all that, but it's just a little too much, because they're really trying to make a point of like, oh, this guy is the best of humanity, and look how much he has like basically shown what humanity really is. Which is like,
it's like
self-centered idiot.
Do you get this, audience?
yeah. So it's just a bit too like. It could have been a little bit more subtlety. I would have appreciated, but I mean, Matt Damon is just so good though, so he can it work. It does work for me, but like it's just a little thing where I'm like, oh, this is a bit like. It's like every alarm and everybody's like, you're gonna die if you try and do this, it's gonna explode. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be fine. Oh wait,
I'm taking control of Endurance. Then we will talk about
you're done.
Like, scared the shit out of me. Like,
it is a great jump scare.
I know it's going to happen.
It's like, why is it? It's timed so well though. It's just like right in the middle of him saying something. It's just like, nope, boom, you're done.
I have to assume like they didn't tell Matt Damon at what point it was going to happen, because there's no clues in how he delivers that line that it's going to happen. No. Like it's honestly just such a genius trope.
It's really well done, to be fair.
And then the entire sequence after that of them trying to sync up.
I don't think I breathed for that whole sequence. Like, I don't think I took a breath. I was just like,
it's incredible,
so tense, just like gripping my seat and just being like, oh, this is so intense.
And I'm not a religious person, but I feel like moments like that, that's as close as you're going to get to a religious experience for me. Like, you're literally looking in the face of God when you're doing that.
Yeah, and the other thing, and this is just a normal thing, is like when you get into like the paradox of like, oh well, it's like it's future evolved humans that have sent this message to him, so he can send it to himself in the past, so that we can start this whole chain of events in the first place. Like, stuff like that just breaks my brain. It doesn't make any sense.
I love that shit.
I love it, but it breaks my brain. I did love the bit where it's like it was him who she saw in the wormhole, and he's like when she shook his hand. Like, that's a really nice moment.
Well, I just think like the movie just has this beautiful like loop to it.
Yeah. Definitely does.
I like to think the future humans who've evolved to a higher state of being, like, they're so far in the future that the story of Earth has been completely forgotten. And it's only when they like level up and obtain this being able to see like
Right.
through all the dimensions that they realize like, oh yeah, we got to tell ourselves a long time ago to go back or none of this will
you remember
will
when
work.
remember how we were supposed to do that?
Remember when we were these wet bags of meat?
Yeah, and the first time it bugged me quite a lot. The second time it didn't bug me as much, but when he's like trying to get his past self to stay, and he's like trying to spell out "stay" with the Morse code,
Yeah.
like I was like, dude, you know that you did
this
that already, right?
You know this doesn't work,
And
right?
like the first time I saw that, I was like, well, that's stupid. You should know by now that you can't change the past. But the second time I saw it, and maybe this is just because I'm a parent now, I was like, no, like he probably doesn't even remember that she said that because he wasn't listening to her. You just pass it off as her making shit up. And like he's just going to do anything he can.
Yeah, he didn't even try to change the past in any other way, right? So
no.
That's kind of interesting. Well,
that's what I mean. Then he then I think he just cottoned on. It's like, oh no, like I've already done all this. I just have to do what I did in the past.
This is the purpose of, and like maybe the aliens wouldn't have, or I guess the future humans wouldn't have even let him try.
I don't know. I don't know if you can.
They would have cut off the feed.
That's the other thing. It's like. That's why these paradoxes don't make my brain hurt. Because it's like you said, like you can't change what you've done, what's already happened in the past. So what you're doing is just what's already happened.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so then how are you changing anything then? Because it's already happened. It's so confusing.
Yeah. But so he's
like he just said they wouldn't let him change what's happened in the past. But it's like, well, they might because it would have already happened.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's just like the 4D chess that these future humans kind of have to play. Is like, well, we know this already happened, but if we don't facilitate it so that it happens, it won't ever happen.
Right? Yeah. See, let's move on because I'm getting confused again. But
no,
I do.
Honestly,
I love it though.
I think this is like the perfect kind of content though, because there's plenty of people who are like watch that movie, love the experience, but probably have those same exact questions. Yeah. And by the way, people, I don't know if I have the answers. Like I'm doing my best here
to explain it to us. And another thing that I really didn't, really confused me or I didn't understand the first time I watched it was like when it was like, why is he in this like infinite library bedroom place? Like, why would that be in the middle of a black hole? I'm totally confused. And I guess I must have missed where they literally explained it to you. And it's like, no, they've just made it look like this so that your stupid brain can understand it.
Well, and honestly, that's like one of the other Nolanisms that I still bump up against is when TARS, who is a great character.
I think I'd forgot how great all of the robots are in this.
Case is really good too.
Like, who plays them, by the way?
Well, the guy who does like the puppeteer for TARS, it voices him as well.
Oh, really? Because I thought like incredible voice acting on those robots, like so much humanity coming through those.
I'd have to check for Case, but I thought he sounded like Casey Affleck this time.
Oh, really? Yeah, I thought so too. But then I was like, that would be a bit on the nose.
Yeah, so the guy who plays TARS sounds a lot like Michael Keaton. I was convinced it was Michael Keaton the first time, but no, it's a puppeteer guy or whatever. I'm pretty sure it's this puppeteer guy. So don't hate me, everybody.
It's actually Michael Keaton.
But no, he does a really great job. But when they're in the bookshelf, he says he just delivers all that those lines of exposition. He's like, don't you see? This is this. And
he does become a bit Exposition Bot 2000 at that point, which I thought was actually really clever that they. Like in the writing of it, that they're like, oh, we'll make sure that TARS goes in there with him because we need someone to be able to explain what's happening, and it doesn't make sense unless it's him talking to the robot.
But it's honestly like it's such perfect writing.
It is. It's really well done
because like they do the math and say like we have to dump TARS or else like they won't have enough momentum to get there. But then it's also great to have TARS in there because then he can measure all the data,
right?
Right?
And like, that's the other thing. I'm not super clear on what this data is. It's like, we need to understand the data about gravity, and then we'll just tell them using Morse code. And I was like, I don't understand how that works.
The secret of gravity is 3.
I don't understand science enough to be able to parse that, but that's just smart people doing smart stuff, which I'm all here for.
Well, they all say, like, this is the movie that is the most scientifically accurate.
Yeah, because part of my brain is just like, that must have been an incredible amount of data that he had to send back. Using Morse code by tapping a little like second hand on a watch.
Well, do you see how many pieces of paper she had when she said Eureka? Like that was a lot.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like that must have taken a long time, and like to be that accurate, like fair play. Like,
yeah, good job, TARS. You're a good robot.
Well, no, I mean, good job, Matthew McConaughey, man. Like You got a
Oh.
tappy little finger on that watch, like, oof.
Yeah, they kind of like skip over that. Like, how
Must have took him hours and
how is
hours to do
yeah,
that.
like exactly. Like, but they're not going to just show hours doing that
No.
or whatever, right? But and just kind of like it shows the data kind of working through him. Doesn't really explain
Yeah.
how that works. Doesn't really need to, in my opinion.
No, I agree. It's just Taurus tells him what to do and he does it, and then the watch records it.
I will say the difference in the theatrical experiences between the two.
Mm.
When I saw this in 2014, people were giggling and people were like snickering
Oh, really?
at like the bookshelf stuff.
Really?
And like I heard some groans and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, actually, you know what? Now you mention that, I think that's super bad. But I took that as people just being like, I have no idea what's going on anymore. Like, this has lost me, so now I'm just gonna laugh at it because I'm just confused.
Could be. I think people thought it was like silly too. Like, in it, like
that's what I mean. It's like if you don't understand what's going on, you're like, this is stupid. Like,
yeah.
why is he in the library stuck behind a bookshelf?
And like, to be honest, like it is kind of stupid, but it's also is kind of great.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. It's surface level stupid, but it's actually incredibly smart and well done, which is hard to do.
And I think about the Cooper character and like, is he a stand-in for Christopher Nolan? And through this movie, is he saying like, I love my family, I love my kids so much, but like I do have to go off and make movies.
Like, I'll be back eventually, all right? We might be the same age.
But by all accounts, like he is like a really dedicated family man. Like he doesn't have a cell phone. Like when
I did hear that.
Like he works on set with his wife.
Well, she produces all the movies.
Right? She's a producer of his movies, and then when like they're done shooting, like he's gone for the day, and like he's not like checking emails or whatever. I think he doesn't email anybody and stuff like that. He's a weird guy.
He is a weird guy.
That's pretty cool to kind of set those work boundaries or whatever.
Yeah, you need weird people like that.
Yeah. The other Nolanism in the movie that I still don't like is towards the beginning of the movie when Timmy Chalamet says, "Oh yeah, this is just like Murphy's Law," and then Murphy, who's 10 years old and has conceivably heard about how she got her name before, suddenly goes like, "Why'd you name me after a terrible thing?"
It's like, have I never told you this story?
Yeah, like
a million times.
Like it's just too cheesy and too on the nose. Like I feel like
didn't bother me, but I can see where you're coming from.
I feel like they should have just called her Murphy and then referenced Murphy's Law later on.
I was just disappointed she didn't ever say the name's Murphy. That's just me.
What is that? Is that Home Alone you're doing there?
RoboCop, dude.
Oh yeah, okay. My name's okay.
So I guess my RoboCop impression is poor.
Well, I literally just saw Home Alone 2 nights ago.
Oh yeah, is there a Murphy in that?
This is a really big tangent. So Kevin calls the police and he's like,
"Oh, he does. My name's Murphy. Yeah, I watched it the other day too.
My house is being robbed. I'm at blah 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 blah. My name is Murphy." And then he hangs up the phone.
You thought that's what I was referencing? That would have been so.
I'm starting to think
that
like
would have been a niche reference.
Was Kevin McAllister referencing RoboCop?
Hey, maybe.
Yeah,
I didn't even think that. Maybe. When did RoboCop come out?
Before that.
Yeah, it must have been, right?
Yeah, RoboCop was like 86-ish.
Well,
and then
Home Alone was like
1990.
Right? Yeah. There you go. Maybe we just discovered a RoboCop reference in Home Alone.
There you go. I gotta watch RoboCop.
We're breaking all kinds of boundaries here.
Right, so
what are we talking about?
The other thing that kind of bothered me when I first saw the movie is I thought like the idea of a blight kind of destroying all the food supply, like it still just didn't feel like it carried enough weight to me. Yeah, like 10 years on, it feels very appropriate now. Like
that's fair.
It feels like maybe Earth will just slowly die is kind of more tragic than there being some kind of like cataclysmic event.
Right? Just like running out of food, like that's scary shit, man.
Like, I couldn't really get my brain around like, well, they have to leave Earth and then go to these like pieces of shit planet. Like, even though Earth is dying, it still seems like it's more viable than all these other places. But I think Edmund's plan at the end, like, it does look more promising than like a dying Earth. And like conceivably all these places that are, all these space stations that are going away, they're just taking planets that don't have blight with them.
Well, I found that interesting as well, because I think Nolan made a conscious decision not to get into that very much. Like, they don't really explain what happened, when, what measures they tried. what they didn't. There's things that are alluded to,
Yeah.
but it doesn't explain like even what year it's supposed to be. Like how far away are we from the moon landing?
Well, I get the feeling
It's
that
like a generation, maybe.
I feel like we are John Lithgow's age.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Or maybe he's even younger than us. Like, but
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't. I think they made a purpose decision not to be specific about it, and not specifically say like, oh, this has happened and this is what they tried. Now this has happened, and like get into like the nitty gritty, because I don't know. It's not really necessary, right? It's just like, yeah, there's something that's killing all the crops and we've got no food.
But I feel like the relationship to technology is really interesting in this movie because things are all old.
Yeah,
like his truck is what he's driving. Like is very similar to the truck you would be driving today.
It's like a Dodge Ram.
But then you have Tars, who's a very sophisticated robot, but they call him like old. So like it's far enough in the future that Tars is considered like antiquated.
You're right.
But then like because of food shortages and
I think
society's kind of collapsed.
Well, I think the implication is that they just stopped investing in that stuff.
Yeah, because they have to invest everything in.
So even though Tars is old, he's still the most sophisticated robot there is, because they just stopped investing in robotics because they had to worry about farming and stuff instead.
Yeah. No, so I didn't really love that stuff before, but now I think it's great.
No, I agree. It's,
and I can attest that the 10 years on, the Earth is very much slowly dying.
Yeah, it seems to be.
And what I also find interesting is it sounds like when Cooper was younger, life was harder, and like there was more war, there was more strife and stuff, and
he was still like a test pilot or whatever, though, right?
Yeah, but so I guess there was still like some slither of hope.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they sort of cracked a bit of a formula in how to grow more crops.
Right.
So you're able to grow more, but there's just fewer things that you're able to grow. It sounds like just corn and okra.
I love the bit towards the end when they're having dinner and it's just corn.
It's just different corn. Yeah.
Like we got corn on the cob. We got this corn.
We got popcorn.
It's just like, oh man, that would be horrible. It's just like, here's all you and corn for dinner.
It reminds. Did you ever watch Battlestar Galactica, like the revival series?
Yeah, I love that show.
There's a great like plot point where they're just like they're running out of food. They have to find some kind of sustainable source of food.
Right.
They find a planet that just has like a moss growing on it.
Yeah, right.
And so they just harvest a bunch of this moss. And they're like, well, we can eat it and it will provide us nutrition and we can survive. But like, this is not enjoyable in any way. Like we're just eating a bunch of like nutrients basically that taste like shit.
It's like the Matrix. A little full of snot.
It's everything the body needs.
Yeah, the one thing I did, I always bump up against this kind of stuff whenever there's like this timey-wimey stuff. Oh, that's just reminded me of what I wanted to ask you, because I didn't understand it the first time and I didn't understand it this time. When they go down to the water planet, right?
Miller's planet.
They say, when we go down here, every hour is going to be 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? And they go down there and stuff goes wrong. And then they're like, oh, how much time did we lose? And she's like, decades. And I'm like, why? Are they supposed to have been down there for hours?
Yeah, I think there's some kind of editing
Something
there.
else happened? Like, I never get my head around why it's like 24 years that they're down there when they said an hour. Like, does that mean they were down there for 4 hours?
You are completely right, because they land down there, or maybe there's like extra time of them landing and taking off that they're not really accounting for in there. But even when they get hit by the tidal wave, they say it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour to drain it.
That's 7 years.
And then they have a conversation for about 5 minutes. Then another tidal wave comes.
Yeah, and they're like, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to go now.
Yeah, and then he asks Case. He's like, how much longer? And he's like, another 2 minutes. And he's like, let's just burn it. We gotta risk it.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so they've been down there max an hour.
Yeah,
so it should have been 7 years.
I completely agree. I think that there is some sloppiness going on with the
I think it just needed another line. Like they should have said, "Oh, we were knocked off course like a slight bit," which made it so that it went even faster or whatever.
But yeah, so
I didn't get it.
I agree with you. I think that there's something that is off there. Listeners, if you can explain that to us, it seems to me like there's some kind of mistake there, that it wasn't properly conveyed how long they're actually down there, because they should be down there for like 2 hours 20 minutes.
Yeah,
basically, right?
Because the way I perceive it is like something happens.
Or no,
which-
even longer.
which
It's
make-
it's 7 years from 1 hour.
It's supposed to be
right?
7. Yeah, because what I love about that scene as well is that when they go down there, the sound design, it starts doing a ticking noise.
Yes.
And the tick is supposed. And I saw this, and they said that it's perfectly calculated so that every tick is a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the sound design is purposely set up that way. So so when they're coming down to land, it's like tick, 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 and you're like,
just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy
That's so crazy.
because this time I was watching, I was listening for it, and I was actually like counting. I was like, that's a 1. So I got up to like 50. And they only just started doing what they were doing, like just climbing out the ship. I was like, "That's 50 days gone already."
Oh man. Well,
but then like the ticking stops, and like, oh, it's been decades, and I'm like, whoa, I was really on board with this ticking being days, and now you're telling me it's 24 years, and I don't understand why.
Well, and this kind of leans into my my theory that this is secretly a horror movie. Man, they go down to Miller's planet, and then like literally like time is a killer. Like it's just like eating up his time and like they say time is a resource here, but time is also like just an absolute killer. They're down there and they're just losing part of the lives of all the people that they love. It's absolutely terrifying when they have the realization that Miller probably just landed about 3 hours ago and it's just sending dummy data. That is it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Is that like, oh, she just landed a few hours before us. She probably just died a couple minutes before we landed.
Yeah, and but like, honestly, when that happened, I was like, you guys should have realized that. Why? Like, you were supposed to be smart people, and you already told us that an hour on that planet is 7 years. So you know that she's landed, and it's been 7 years, so that's like an hour for her. Like, you should know that already.
I gotta say, I know that Cooper's a bad parent because like there's no like maybe you could have convinced me to go on that mission. There's no fucking way I'd say, all right, let's go to the time dilation planet first. Like I'd say, all right.
He was overruled though, wasn't he?
Yeah, you know what, guys? Maybe it'll take us an extra year to go to those other planets, but
that's better than an extra 7 years.
Every hour is 7 years. Why are you guys so fucking stupid?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was a bit of a bad dad though, because he went because he wanted to. He wanted the adventure of it.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
He didn't
he
go
was selfish. He went for selfish reasons, and then by the time he realized that, he was too late.
He didn't go just because he thought he was the only person who did this. Yeah. That's why Michael Caine wanted him to go. He wanted to go because he thought, I need my life.
He was chosen.
I need my life to be of some kind of value. Yeah. Like I think that I'm special. That's why I have to go. Yep. And it's kind of a genius stroke in the movies. He realizes I'm not special. It's my daughter's the special one.
I was chosen by myself.
Yeah. And he has a line early in the movie where his wife said that parents are just the ghosts for their children.
Ghost memories.
Right? So then your child will remember them and then helps them impact their whole lives going forward. And he's like, well, I don't want to be a ghost yet. Like I want to I don't want to just sit here and be a farmer and be a great story for you. And you're going for it. Like I want to go and have an adventure myself. So I completely agree with you. He's a bad parent. I feel like he should have stayed.
All right, I want to get into another thing that I think I'm not a huge fan of in the movie. And that is, I think his son is shit on through the whole movie. And I think it's harsh.
It's pretty harsh, yeah.
Because, like, when he's leaving, they're all just like, oh, he'll be fine. Don't worry about him. He's fine.
Well, because he's a dumb farmer.
And he's just happy farming. Don't worry about it. Don't even have to worry about him. Meanwhile, there's so much emphasis put on how he's so terrible for Murph that he's leaving. And poor Murph. And I'm like, poor Murph? What about this guy? I don't even remember his character's name. Or Casey Affleck. And then
Timmy Chalamet.
And then they just continue to heap shit on this kid.
I think his name's Paul Moidi.
Yes, I think you might be right. He has many names. but then and then it's like, okay.
No, you're right.
And then they kill his kid. And then they try and make him out to be the bad guy for not knowing how to save his family because there's basically nothing you can do because everyone's dying anyway.
Can I ask you a question? Is Casey Affleck's second son's name Cooper?
No, Coop Cooper.
Is Coop Cooper?
Yeah, Coop Cooper.
Because there's something stupid going on there. But no, I completely agree with you. I think that there's a core of exceptionalism that's running through here.
Right.
Like Matthew McConaughey is exceptional. Murphy is exceptional. Casey Affleck is just one of those regular people.
Yeah, he's him and John Lithgow are just they're the dum-dums.
It's a bit of like Christopher Nolan patting himself on the back, saying I'm one of the exceptional people.
Yeah.
That like maybe that's kind of like if you ever watch Brad Bird's movies, all of them are secretly about how he's really special. I think there's a bit of that going on in this movie, but to be honest, Chris Nolan is kind of special.
Yeah,
he's a good filmmaker.
But I mean, you don't have to make characters that are just put upon. And
he's like this. This is the origin.
And the other thing, like, and I understand why, because it needed Jeopardy, but it just felt like fake stakes for when it was like, oh, we burnt his crops and like we better get his wife and kids out and figure out the big code quick because he's coming back and he's such a bad dude. He's gonna come and he's gonna kill. He's like the big scary like nemesis that's coming to get us. Like, well, no, he's not. He's just a guy. Like, just say, hey, dude, I need 10 minutes to look at the library, and like we'll talk about your family after once you've calmed down. No,
that kind of bothered me before too. I think on this watch, I was more thinking that, why is this stuff on the farm like happening that's being juxtaposed with the stuff that's on Cooper's planet?
Yeah.
I think it's just showing how dark things have gone on Earth, like how the evilness that's inside of Dr. Mann that caused him to do something so selfish. It's the same sort of evilness in Casey Affleck, although it's a lot slimmer.
Right.
But really, it's ultimately important that that's happening because that's the same day that she finds the watch, right? Like that's kind of really why that's important. Those are the dramatic series of events that led her to kind of crack the code.
Yeah, it just like
I still think it's very mean.
Yeah,
it's not really fair to that.
And I think what it's born is it's very difficult when you're dealing with like different times, to sort of make things urgent, because it's like, oh, she really needs to figure this out quick. It's like, no, she doesn't. Like, she's got all the time in the world to figure this out. there's no rush. Like, he's already done it with the watch. She just has to go pick it up. Like, she could do that anytime. It's like, okay, well, we need to introduce Jeopardy by saying like, well, she better do it now because Casey Affleck's going to come back and he's going to fight that guy with the tire iron. So like, there's Jeopardy now, and I'm like, okay, I get it, but it just felt forced to me.
I could also throw something out at you.
Okay,
because Murphy and Cooper are bound by the forces of love across space and time.
Right.
When Cooper realizes that like his life's in jeopardy or whatever, that also kind of kickstarts Murphy saying like, I need to do something right now.
Right. Okay.
So maybe she's feeling his peril at that moment, and then she's feeling like a sense that I need to do something. I need to protect my family. Mm-hmm. She doesn't even kind of understand why she's feeling this impulse at that same time.
Yeah, and that all works for me, and I get it. And I'm not even saying that I didn't like that they did it, because I know, like, I get why as a choice as a writer, it's like, okay, well, yes, that what you just said all makes sense. So we need to introduce extra jeopardy that's like pressure that she has to figure this out quickly, because otherwise she's going to run out of time. And we'll do that by saying Casey Affleck's going to come and get you. And I just feel like I wish they'd figured out a better way, because I feel like they just shit on this guy and made him the bad guy at the end when he didn't really do anything wrong the whole movie. He's just trying to live his life, and he's in a terrible world.
Yeah. I think it's sort of coding it that like he's also like abusing his wife and son, although it doesn't explicitly say that.
It's harsh, man. Like,
I agree.
Like, I just felt like he was shit on way more than would seem, but maybe that was the point.
Do you think he got brought on the space station?
I would hope so, man. If you're like the brother of the woman who figured it all out. But then, to my point, right? He's so desperate to come home, and he needs to see Murphy because like he promised Murphy to come back. He did not give a shit about Casey Affleck.
I don't
even ask about it.
I don't even think he said goodbye to Timothée Chalamet before he just hugged him.
He just hugged him. Was like, yeah, you'll be all right, idiot boy.
I'll give you my truck.
Yeah,
truck go vroom vroom, right?
Like and to be fair, the only one of his kids that sent him a bunch of messages keeping him up to date on like, here's your grandchildren and I'm having a shit time. And then he was like, oh, I don't really care about this guy anymore.
I guess every parent has their favorites.
I mean, right? I guess maybe he did. Maybe he did the whole, oh, and by the way, is my son still alive? Could I visit him? And they're like, no, he's long dead. And he's like, oh, okay.
Oh,
what about my grandkids? Are they still? Oh, don't worry about them. They're
yeah,
not
you're
here.
right. He never asked about his
He's like,
son.
you know what? I've seen my daughter, who's the only one I cared about. Now I'm going to piss off on my spaceship. Peace out, all. I'm like, wow, like, I guess he doesn't care about his other kid at all.
Yeah.
I just felt really bad for him, is what I'm trying to say.
I never even realized he didn't even ask about his son.
No, it doesn't care.
But
Doesn't care one jot.
It's kind
because
of
he's the bad guy. They made him the bad guy, so we don't have to care about him anymore.
I would say it goes into Matt Damon's speech when he says that our sense of survival like can only go so far and extends to our children.
Right.
Because, we love our children because we really just all love ourselves and we want to protect ourselves. So he sees Murphy's like, oh, this is me. She's just like me.
Okay.
Whereas like Timothy Chalamet is like,
yeah.
You're a good farmer. You'll be fine.
Yeah. He put on weight and grew a beard.
So he sees Murphy as an extension of himself. Doesn't really extend that to Timothy Chalamet.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It just rubbed me up the wrong way. I thought he did dirty. But I mean, maybe that was the point.
It was very dirty on Earth then.
I guess.
All right. Do you want to talk about the performances at all?
I mean, sure. We're pretty
good.
Pretty amazing across the board.
I think this is kind of at the absolute height of Matthew McConaughey's like ascendance, right?
So
Like this
question on that. Was anybody nominated for this movie?
So that's a great. I want to talk about that.
I knew you would know.
This movie had like hardly no nominations. Had no acting nominations.
Really?
Nolan didn't get director. It didn't get score. And what I think is a crime, it did not get nominated for best cinematography, which I think is a crime against humanity.
That's like crazy. I honestly feel like there was a bit of he must have pissed the Academy off or something because he was overlooked a lot.
Well, he himself like hardly ever got best director. Like I think his first best director nom was for Dunkirk, which is kind of crazy.
You might be right.
But like I think people really didn't like the third act of this movie. And then they just didn't vote for it in like the other categories. But like cinematographers all vote for the nominees. It's like so they ask all these members of the Academy who are cinematographers, vote for what you think are the 5 best shot movies this year. How did this not get at least nominated?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense because you don't.
I mean, I think
because you don't like the bookshelf stuff. Like you think that this was not like one of the best shot movies of all time. Like it's fucking crazy.
I think honestly, that's what I mean. I think he must have pissed somebody off, which I could imagine he probably does.
And I'll have to double check this, but I think like Zimmer's score didn't get nominated. Yeah, and that's crazy. I think it just got nominated for visual effects, but we'll have to double check.
Yeah, if he didn't get nominated for sound design, I would be shocked.
Oh, it probably did. Like sound mixing.
The sound design in that movie is incredible.
Yeah, well, like it's just an incredibly well done movie across the board.
It is.
But yeah, like I would say, like I would have nominated McConaughey. I would have nominated Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
I don't think I would nominate Jessica Chastain. I have to take a look at the nominees for that year, but it's really strong performances across the board.
They really were. Yeah, the one thing I was going to say before I got sidetracked on my why did it take 24 years is that I always think there is no way a person can survive being by themselves for that long. Like the guy they left behind, I forget his name. And he was like, it was 24 years later. And then they just come back. And he's just kind of like, hey, it's been 24 years. And they were like, yeah,
is that his name? Romilly?
I don't remember. And like, yeah, it was a waste of time. And he's just like, okay.
It's like, yeah.
And I know that he mentioned
he slept for a while.
So I think you would go insane. Literally, you would go insane.
I think that actor does a great job when they open the door and he's like, oh, you've been gone a long time. Like,
yeah, it's like, what I mean,
like it probably should have been crazier.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I think they probably calculated that the audience wouldn't be ready for like too crazy.
Yeah, and the same thing with Dr. Mando as well. Like, I mean, he obviously has gone a bit loopy because he's like doing crazy shit and killing people and stuff. But like, he's way too like cognizant. Like, when he wakes up, he does the whole, "Oh, I'm gonna hug you because it's the first person I've seen for so long," and he's like, "Oh, you don't know what it's like to see a face and it's like the best thing you've ever seen." I'm like, he would literally be an insane person right now.
I did really like that moment when he wakes up and he's just so overwhelmed by being touched by another human being that he just breaks down crying.
Yeah, it is well done. But
I see what you mean, but it's also kind of just it's like movie logic. Like they can't just think,
something that always bugs
like,
me in that stuff because I'm like, there's no way you could like
because
it just gets brushed off too easy. It's like, oh, it's been 20 years I've been waiting. I'm like, excuse me, what? That's a long ass time to be stuck in a spaceship by yourself. You would literally be insane.
Well, especially for Matt Damon, if he's acting too crazy, then then you know that he's gonna be evil. You'd be turned on to something like once he's like dries his hair or whatever. You're right. Like he's way too normal. He's just like, yeah, let's just we'll go do it like this.
But
the audience would just like be too turned against it otherwise.
But my thing is like you've got your perfect you've got your out right there. They even mention it. Like if he'd been like, it's been 24 years, but I was asleep for 22. Right. I've been waiting 2 years. I'd be like, okay, 2 years is a long ass time to still be sat by yourself waiting, but I can appreciate that. But not like I've been sat here for 20 years waiting. No, you wouldn't be doing that, mate. You'd be loopy. You'd be insane. Humans cannot survive by themselves in captivity that long. Just doesn't happen. There's no way.
Well, you also have to think that, and I'm not arguing the other way against it at all. But astronauts, like they're being chosen because they can survive for longer time by themselves. Like these are the people who pass the psych profiles that they can do this.
I guess. There's a reason why they don't set astronauts up by themselves, though. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I think it helps. I think it helps that he has that beautiful landscape to look at that's trying to kill him every second.
He has. Does he have any robots still there with him?
Well, he did, and then that robot was like, "Hey, you shouldn't be sending fake data." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to kill you now. I'm sorry. I'm going to kill you and bring you to explode if someone ever tries to look at me being naughty."
But the other guy who was on the ship by himself, he didn't have a robot, did he? Or did he? Who did they take down? They took what?
No, Tars was up there. Tars was up with him.
Who did they take down to the planet?
They took Case down. Right. Because do you remember he says, "Oh fuck, this guy's gonna run me off the road."
They did. I don't remember him saying that.
Yeah. So he says I don't trust Tars down there. I'm bringing Case because Tars is too sarcastic. I don't want him down on that planet.
I also feel like they did not utilize those robots half as much as they could have.
Well, they should have been like Case carry me over there.
Yeah, like they landed on that planet. Like it's really important that we go super quickly. And it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna just trudge through the water really slowly. And then it's like, oh, by the way, we could just send this robot to run real fast. And it's like, no, let's not do that.
Yeah, the robots are so incredibly designed for this, and like it's so unique.
Yeah,
like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
It's like Minecraft robots.
And this is before Minecraft,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, no. Actually, you know what? Maybe it's still after Minecraft. Minecraft has been around for a crazy long time.
Has it?
I think it's been since 2012 or whatever.
Oh, there you go. Maybe they ripped Minecraft off then.
Maybe. I guess.
Also, what I was going to say is I'm terrible at remembering character names. I'm just putting that right out there.
The guy who's gawking at the big water?
The guy who dies on that planet. Who's also in Yellowstone. I know you don't watch Yellowstone, and
Is this the character's name?
I had no idea. But it was bugging me for so long. You're like, why do I know this guy from? And then it clicked that he's in Yellowstone.
Well, yeah, he sort of looks like Jared Leto, but not quite.
But like, I didn't understand why he was like, oh, there's a big wave coming. And he says to the robot, go get her. And then the robot goes get her, then comes back, and he's just sort of like, oh, I'm just taking my time. Then he's just like stood outside the ship going, okay, I'm just going to stand here. And then he gets swept away. I'm like, bit of urgency, my friend. What are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like they could have paced him a little further away so then they were all racing back to the ship together or something. Like he was trying to go get Scrap over here. She was over here.
Yeah, or like make it so that like he went to try and go and help her, and then there was only time to take one of them back. So he was like, take her back.
Yeah. Well, like he like
going to give him a heroic sacrifice end rather than idiot end.
Well, the way that I have to think the way that they were filming it was that his like it's like fight, flight, or like fright.
To be fair,
he just sort of just like paused like a deer in the headlights.
They did throw in a bit there though, like when he's walking, he's like, oh, the gravity is so strong, like it's really hard to move. So they did throw that in there to kind of explain why he's not just running.
Yeah, he's just like a fucking pussy soy boy.
Yeah, but it's like, just hurry the fuck up, man. What are you doing?
I wanted to smack him. It's like, you were so goddamn close to this spaceship. Like, there's no reason you can't
had
get
a lot of time
here.
and opportunity to get in there, and you just basically spent most of the time standing there watching while other people were trying to escape. And I thought it was really harsh how they like lingered on that shot of him dead in the water at the end. In case you were wondering, he's definitely dead.
That was savage.
It was.
Bum, 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 dun, 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 dun.
He's like, oh, there you go. That's what you get for not running.
All right. Anything else bother you with it? Like it's
No, I've just picked out a bunch of stuff that I'm complaining about, but they are very, very small nicks that I'm picking there.
If you guys are new to the podcast, we always kind of do this. Like we pick apart the stuff we don't like, even though if we like absolutely love the movie.
Yeah, it fills up time on the pod.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to home now.
Yeah, we should probably wrap this up. We've been going for an hour here.
Anything else you want
to? Just forget all the complaints I just said because they're meaningless, and it's an amazing movie, and none of that stuff matters.
Yeah,
that's about it.
I'd say still Dunkirk number 1. Like you're not going to knock that one off the top of the list.
Dunkirk's number 6.
This movie, I think, like I'm just going to say right now, kind of tied for second with Memento. I think those two are the two best written movies Nolan's ever done. Like
Memento is just an amazing piece.
Memento is just a masterpiece of a screenplay. Like
it really is.
Yeah, and Christopher Nolan, good at his job.
Yeah, he's doing all right. Fair play to him.
More
power to your elbow.
Any other praise we should heap on this movie?
I think
it's really good.
We've blown it enough, I think.
If you've listened to all this and you haven't seen the movie, you are a big dum-dum and you need to go watch the movie.
Or if you've listened to this and you don't like the movie, then
I feel like we kind of...
I feel like I want to say thank you because that means you're only listening because you like listening to us. I can't imagine there's anybody...
There you go. Well, this
is listening who's undecided or doesn't like
this movie kind of broke our brains, eh? Like,
yeah, I'm just rambling now. Oh, it's not even that late.
This is early for us. Anyways, Interstellar, very, very, very good.
Yes.
I'd say 6.5 out of 6.5.
Yeah, full marks. Almost perfect movie.
Almost perfect. I would agree with that. Almost perfect. Really great.
Nailed on 5 stars.
Anyways, if you don't follow us on your podcatcher of choice, definitely do that.
Yes.
Give us 5 stars. Say we suck, but also say we're good.
Yeah.
You know,
just say whatever you want.
We're human beings. Like we like receiving good feedback.
Give us your honest opinion. Constructive criticism is helpful. I'm going to say that.
What if they say the British guy complains too much?
Then I will stop complaining immediately because I am a shill.
I want you to be you. Yeah.
I'm going to change my whole personality based off of what one guy on Reddit says. And you should too, Trevor.
No! I feel like I was pretty positive on this one.
Yeah, I mean...
I feel like I'm usually the one shitting on things more.
I don't think either of us were shit on it. We just kind of clarify a few things that we found confusing.
Like time is complicated.
It is complicated.
Christopher Nolan has spent his entire career trying to parse out time. He finds it very...
He's one of those future humans that perceive in 5 dimensions, and we're just all dullets in comparison.
It's interesting to me. He didn't see that Warner Brothers was going to do their day and date release stuff that would piss him off so much to leave.
Well, he needed his future self should have sent him a message for a library, and then he would have figured it.
And say you should go to Universal.
Yeah, go back.
All right. Well, everybody.
on that note,
everybody, we've gone insane. Let us know what you think of Interstellar. Reach us at firstlookfinalwordpod@gmail.com. We got some other stuff going on this month. Like we might want to go see Craven, right?
Oh yeah.
You are very interested in that movie.
I really like the Spunk universe. Not any of the movies. I just really like all the characters. So I'm keen to see Craven. Right. Plus, I really like Aaron Taylor-Johnson. I think he's pretty good.
You know what he's great in? Tenet.
Yeah,
he's great in Tenet.
He's great in most things he's in, to be fair.
And Bullet Train.
Yeah. Oh, he's great in Bullet Train.
I'm actually a pretty recent convert to Aaron Taylor-Johnson.
Oh yeah. He's not done. I mean, he's done bad movies, but he's never done a bad performance.
All right. Well, I'll come. We'll save it for a Craven episode.
Yeah.
If we
we'll get back to that conversation.
All right, everyone. You've been great. We got to go.
Yeah. We'll call it there then. Thanks for joining us this week, guys. Until next time, that's the final word.